My friends Russ and Zach made the trip down to the Okefenokee swamp with me. We're going to spend a weekend kayaking and camping. We started out at Stephen C. Foster Park. This is right here at the boat launch. You can launch a little further down. We didn't know that, but it was cool to be able to ride through this narrow lily pad section. There was a lot of young gators in here. Some of them wouldn't even move. They thought they were so camouflaged back in the lilies they'd let you get fairly close to be able to take pictures and just see them. Right up here, have a gator go under. It was a little bit bigger size, maybe about 3 foot. Still a baby though. After riding through that narrow section for a little bit, it opens up to what's called Billy's Lake. This is the most open part of the swamp that we saw all weekend. As you can see later in the video, you're more in canals on the other side of the swamp, but this was very open with lots of lily pads and cypress stumps. Tried fishing rooster tails for bowfin, chain pickerel this day. We didn't get any takers, but we really did enjoy the view. This is my buddy Russ fishing out of his new Vibe Seaghost 110. He's fishing a beetle spin in a chartreuse orange color. Ended up catching some flyers on that. Now that we're getting closer to Billy's Island, you can see it gets very narrow. Billy's Island actually was inhabited at one point. There's a lot of history out there on the internet, but there was a family that actually occupied the island and lived there, farmed there. Then later on, a logging company came in before it became a national wildlife refuge. Get asked sometimes, is there current in the swamp? As you can see with that grass and the water, there is current, but in the kayak you don't really feel it too much. Like I was talking about, on Billy's Island there was a logging company, and there's still some remnants of some of the trucks and equipment left on the island, all rusting out, but pretty neat to know that people actually lived within the swamp here. After a fun day of kayaking, we made the drive over from Stephen C. Foster Park over to Traders Hill Campground to join the rest of the Georgia kayak fishing crew for our Friday night potluck. We've got some steak on the grill, got some beans, added on a few bratwursts, and as you can see, we got a hungry crew ready to get their grub on. This is Traders Hill Campground. It's a very remote location, and because of that, it's almost never full. Lots of space to put your tents up under the big oak trees. There's also a travel trailer section a little ways off. There's also a big pavilion for you to have dinner at night, and just a good area for everybody to congregate around. Saturday we launched from Okefenokee Adventures. This is the main canal that goes for about 1 mile to 2 miles straight ahead of you. A little further into the refuge I hooked up with a flyer, but the line got all wrapped around my reel, so I had to hand line this one in. Best way to describe a flyer is it's very similar to a bluegill or a brim that you would see in any pond in Georgia or the southeast for that matter. They're very dark in color though, real pretty fish, very aggressive and lots of fun to catch. We made a detour from the main canal into Chesser's Prairie and found a bunch more flyers. Chesser's Prairie appears to be very open, but you're still restricted to where you can paddle because it's open but full of lily pads. We'd use the lily pads to our advantage and use them almost like an anchor. The friction of the lily pads on the bottom of your kayak allows you to sit in one place and make multiple casts. you're in a new place and fishing for new species, it's usually best to try to revert back to how you started fishing. I started out fishing for brim to use them as bait for catfish. So I knew if there was anything like a brim in the swamp, I'd be able to probably catch it. These fish may not be very big, but they sure are a lot of fun on ultralight setup. Once we got back in the main canal, I needed to retie my line and drifted into the grass, and the nose of my Maverick touched about a 6-foot alligator's back. Lucky for me, he didn't care one bit that I was there. Once we got back to camp, we got to cooking. Fresh cut fries in the fryer, brats, hot dogs, hamburgers, you name it, we got all the meats. These are the boats we were paddling over the weekend. I was in the Vibe Maverick 120, which is a hybrid paddleboard kayak. Zach was in the Big Game 2, and Russ was in his Vibe Seaghost 110. We had a great time with the GKF crew and can't wait to do it again next year. If you liked the video, please hit the subscribe button, and if you want, go ahead and give it a share. Thanks for watching.